So, in Remnant 2, we've covered quite a lot of builds, but this is one that we haven't done yet. It is going to destroy Apocalypse difficulty, and this is a tank build that deals quite a lot of damage as well. So, jumping into the build, we have the Engineer archetype, and we're using the Heavy Weapon Vulcan, which is the very first skill you unlock for the Engineer. And we're using it as our primary just so that we can overclock the turret, and it is going to fire a lot faster. So the DPS from the turret is going to become higher. Then for the armor, we've got the Lato Mark II for every slot besides the gloves, because the Labyrinth gauntlets actually have a higher armor value. Then for our relic, we're using the Shielded Heart, because on use it grants a shield for 100% of your max health, and is going to last 20 seconds or until your shield is removed by damage. Then for the fragments, we've got mod damage, health, and ranged damage. Then for the primary weapon, which is the only weapon that actually really matters, we are using the Chicago typewriter, and the mod is going to be the most important part of this because it's going to basically give you an extra summon. And this build is mainly about the summons. You've got the turret, then we do have an actual summon from the summoner archetype, and with this mod we get our own familiar summon, which is going to help us with extra damage but also extra lifesteal. So the other weapons don't really matter, it's entirely up to you what you run. But then in terms of the rings, we've got Stone of Balance for the extra 7% damage, because that's going to affect our summons as well, so the turret included from the Engineer. Then we've got the Seal of the Empress, because it increases our max health by 20. Even though it reduces stamina, when it comes to the Shielded Heart, we're going to need to have as much health as we possibly can, because the heart gives a shield worth 100% of your maximum health. Then for the other rings, we've got the Bright Steel ring so that we can do the fastest evade roll, because we are really encumbered due to the weight of the armor that we're wearing. And then the final ring is Soul Link, because summons lifesteal 5% of the base damage dealt, and it returns to us as health. Then for the amulet, we've got the Ank of Power, because it grants a 15% increase to all damage, and upon consuming a relic, which we'll be doing quite often, it doubles that bonus, so we get 30% extra damage for 15 seconds. Then for the secondary archetype, we have the Summoner, and that's mainly because of the Dominator damage perk. It increases your mod and skill damage, so that means the turret's going to be a lot stronger because it increases it by 35%. And also the crit chance of your mods and skills is increased by 5% while a minion is active. But not only that, if we sacrifice a minion, it increases our ranged and melee damage by 30%, and the ranged and melee crit chance by 5% for 45 seconds, or until another minion is summoned. Then with the skill, we've gone with the level 10, we have the Reaver minion, just because it's a tank itself, so it's going to keep the damage away from us for a lot longer than the other summon types. Then in terms of the traits, we have Fortify, it's the Engineer trait, we get armor effectiveness boosted by 50%, Regrowth, which is health regen from the Summoner, Triage to increase our healing by 50%, Vigor for the max health, Spirit, which increases mod power generation by 20% so we get that familiar summon faster, Expertise reduces skill cooldowns by 20%, which will help with our Reaver minion and our turret. Then we've got Bark Skin to reduce all incoming damage by 10%. We then have Rugged, which increases the health of archetype summons by 100%, so they're a lot tankier. And then we've got Siphoner, which grants 2.4% base damage as lifesteal. I couldn't get the max in that because endurance is a default trait when you have this setup. So overall, our armor is 330, which is going to increase our damage reduction by 62.3%. And our health is 172.5, but if we head to the inventory, we are going to use Mudtooth's Tonic, which boosts our max health by 25 for an hour, and it stays in effect after death. So we're going up to 197.5 health, and then when we use our relic, we get that doubled as a shield on top with the armor for the damage reduction. It's a really, really tanky build. So if you look at the health bar at the bottom of the screen, you'll see that we've just activated the tonic. You'll see how big that health bar is. And then if I go and re-roll an adventure, I'll show you what it's like on Apocalypse difficulty. So with the very first enemies we find in Palace Courtyard, if I get out our summon, you'll see the damage we've taken, and then that's going to start tanking all of the damage. So if we get the turret out, if we overclock it, you can see the damage that's dealing, but not only that, look at our health regenerating. See how fast that's coming back because of the summons. Then if I also get this something... Oh, we don't even need to. I mean, we've cleared the enemies out. So what I can do is sacrifice this dude. Then I can call our turret back. And the mod's going to stay out for a little while. I mean, it's literally just disappeared. And then in this room, we've got a lot more enemies. So I'm going to... I was going to try and overclock, but I don't think I can. And we're getting absolutely slapped. So what we're going to have to do right now before we die is use a relic. And we've just got 100% of our health as shield. And we've also just got our minion back. And then if our shield disappears, we will be able to use another relic. But not only that, if I shoot, we can get this mod back. So obviously the weapon damage isn't going to be great, but this is really, really good for bosses because whilst you're in the room with the boss, there's only one enemy, so they're going to focus on your minion. And I mean, you'll see how strong the Reaver is. It's destroying everything. But not only that, it deals range damage. It chucks things at enemies. And yeah, it deals over 1,000 damage. And then if we use the mod, you'll see how quick that deals damage. And that is the enemy's dead. So you pretty much don't need to use weapons. The main reason I've set up the Chicago typewriter is because of the familiar mod. Running something like Nightfall has got a built-in mod, so you can't use the familiar mod. But the build is all based on pretty much using your summons, because each of them give you lifesteal as well as using Siphoner. You've got regrowth for the health regen. There's just so much in this build, including the relic, that's going to keep you alive. And even when you're in a sticky situation, you're low on health, there's a lot of enemies around you, you can still survive it on Apocalypse with this build. And then when you're against a boss and you don't get attacked by random enemies, you will be able to, like, basically you'll have increased survivability because there's only one boss. So there's one focus for your summons, all the DPS is going to them. And not only that, there's only you and your minions for one enemy to aggro. So they're going to focus on your summons over, like, focusing on you all of the time. The massive survivability, really good DPS damage, especially from the Reaver. It's an absolute tank, it hits hard. And that was a look at our tank DPS build in Remnant 2. And on that note, we are going to leave the video there. If you enjoyed it, leaving a like is appreciated. If you wish to support me further as a creator, there are links in the description. Let me know your thoughts about the video in the comments. And if you want to watch more, you can click the video on screen. All support on the channel is greatly appreciated, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching.